Jean-Pascal Tricoire is Chairman and CEO of Schneider Electric, the global leader in the digital transformation of energy management and automation. Some numbers on Schneider Electric: sales about 30 billion euros, net income about 3 billion euros, around 130,000 employees and more than 200 factories all over the world. Jean-Pascal Tricoire has been at the helm of Schneider Electric for 16 years, first 7 years as the CEO and over the last 9 years as the Chairman and CEO. During these 16 years, the company has done remarkably well. Financially, with revenues basically multiplied by 3 and a stock price that at the start of 2022 had been multiplied by 6. Reputationally also, as the company has received multiple awards and honors for the way it does business, Fortune Most Admired Companies, among the most ethical companies in the world, for its environmental commitment and impact, in particular Corporate Knights Global 100 list for 10 years and number 1 on that list in 2021, number 4 in 2022, and finally also awards and recognition in terms of employee recognition from organizations such as Glassdoor and Best Companies to Work For. So this is an organization and a CEO that we can all learn from. Jean-Pascal, a warm welcome to you.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak on your program.
Can you tell us a little bit about the various areas and activities of the company and also the geographical footprints across the various regions of the world?
Yeah, in very simple terms, we are everywhere where you live, where you work, and where you travel. And in a very focused manner, we power and we digitize every part of your environment. Speak about smart homes, smart buildings, data centers, smart manufacturing, smart cities. We are actually the technology behind all of those facilities. We are by far the biggest provider of energy systems to data centers, on 50% in industry and infrastructure in heavy-duty applications. And in all of those applications, we bring together electrification and digitization. Electrification for decarbonization and digitization for efficiency, all of this targeted to making our cities, our companies, the places where we live and work, more sustainable. In terms of geo, pretty simple. I would argue, in modesty, that we are probably one of the most global, or the most global company in our industry and in the world. We do roughly 30% of our business in Asia. Actually, Asia is our largest region. Then 30% in North America, 25% in Europe, and the rest, which is very sizable, close to 20% between South America, Africa, Middle East, the rest of the world.
Can we be even more concrete? Give us an idea of some of the products that you guys, or some of the systems that you guys create.
Look, the big challenge we are tackling is, number one, make sure that everybody in the world has access to energy. And you have 2 billion of people who don't have a reliable access to energy in the world, knowing that energy is your passport to a decent life. And at the same time, we are bringing technology so that we can bring the planet back to net zero. So there is an obvious contradiction here, but we believe, and we show every day, that this can be achieved. Now back to your question. In a data center, your biggest expense is energy, and actually electricity. And the biggest condition of your success is the quality of your energy, because one small interruption and the whole system goes amok, and your customers cannot operate anymore. So what we do here is to supply a complete integrated chain of power from the grid to the server, making sure that there is total reliability of power supply. We call it the 5-9. It's 99.99999% reliable, means no interruption. And at the same time, we bring the efficiency in terms of consumption to its most extreme level. And that is called power utilization efficiency coefficient, which means that basically there is no waste between what is consumed on the grid and what is used for computing.
Now, there is, as I read, still a little bit of your activity related to the distribution of energy, but it's very small. So I guess you decided some time ago to focus on energy management rather than distribution. Why?
What we encompass or saw at that time is that everything we were using at the point of demand, thanks to the Internet of Things, thanks to software, thanks to edge controls, could be made infinitely more efficient so that you save a lot, you don't consume a lot. And once you have reduced that consumption and everything is connected, you can also become a producer of energy. So you can have a microgrid, you can have solar panels, you can have storage, so that basically your home, your building, your manufacturing can, to a very large extent, become independent from the rest. When you decentralize energy like this, then you empower everybody to participate to the resolution of climate change, to the resolution of energy price, and so on. So we really focused on this decentralized part of energy, on the downstream part of the chain of energy, because we were convinced that this would be the place where technology, the biggest disruptions happening in the past 20 years, which namely are Internet of Things and digitization of objects, and second, renewables, that means decentralization and decarbonization of energy, those would be the place that would be the most impacted. And this is the place where we saw the most opportunity. And I believe that the company should be focused. So saying that means that we would defocus from transmission and generation. So we sold everything in the company that was on the upstream and focus on the downstream. Fast forward where we are today, clearly the future of energy is about decentralization. It's about you and me being able locally, because of digital, to understand exactly what we are doing and trim down our consumption to very low level. It's about you and me being able to produce locally a large part of our energy. That means we are all becoming a small power station. And go beyond that, it's you and me transitioning the energy usages to more electricity, because it's the only way to decarbonize. And if you have an electric vehicle, you realize that your house or your office has become also your gas station. So what used to be very centralized is getting very decentralized, and you are getting very much empowered on the way you consume energy, on the way you produce energy. And we had, and we still have today, a very strong conviction, is that energy transitions in the history of humanity don't happen through the supply of energy. They happen through the usages of energy. Cars won't be electric because there was more electricity. Cars will become electric because one company changed the rules of the game and made an electric car much more attractive than an ICE, a combustion engine vehicle. So that's what we bet on. And as you said, it turned to our advantage because we've tripled the size of the company, while most of the industry the rest of the industry focused more on the old model, went down or declined or reduced as the market was going towards the downstream of it.
I do remember Schneider Electric some time ago, about 20 years ago, as a pretty Europe-centric kind of supplier of relatively commoditized electric components. And that's quite a transformation, of course, to this global leader in the digital transformation of energy management and automation. Now, this transformation, as I understand it, has had three pillars: digital, sustainability, and mergers and acquisitions. Can we start with sustainability? It's been at the core of your transformation. Can you walk us through this evolution and what it has meant in terms of strategy development and implementation?
If you remember the beginning of the turn of the century, Europe and the rest of the world was getting equipped with more drilling, more gas peakers, more. And with my team, and myself particularly, I was coming from an experience, a long experience in emerging countries, the China of the 90s, sub-Saharan Africa, where you soon realize that first, energy is the absolute fundamental right for everybody on Earth because it's your access to a decent life, right? I still think that digital is your other access, your passport to education and economic inclusion. Therefore, we tackled both. So from the beginning, we said our specialty, we want to be the partner of our customers to be more efficient and to be more sustainable. Achieve more while using much less of the resources. And we had the strong conviction that this was possible because there were two disruptions in front of us. And at that time, we defined our motto, which was, we want to empower all on Earth to make the most of their energy and resources. So with the same amount of consumption, do much more. Just the contrary of what was done at the time.
And of course, that's what the world needs to do, right? It's estimated that the consumption of electricity will essentially double by 2050. It's also believed that we need to decrease the production of greenhouse gas emission by about 50%. But I think very early on, you guys said, no, we're going to make sustainability our business. It's not something that we do alongside. It is at the heart of the way we think of our products and services.
Yeah, that's quite fundamental in understanding the why and the how, the why of our strategy and the how we executed on it. And that has been a massive transformation. When we started the journey, 5% of the turnover of Schneider was speaking to sustainability. As we speak today, 70% of what we sell is bringing sustainability solution to our customers, so 5 to 70%. Leveraging, the other thing, what I mentioned, digitization, which is today roughly 50% of our business. At that time, it was almost nothing. And leveraging electrification, which at that time was 6 billion euro, and today is close to 25 billion euro in terms of turnover. That's about aligning completely your strategy, your purpose, your strategy on sustainability. Sustainability is the aim of our strategy. The second point also immediately, as we had the ambition to develop fast, was to find a compass of behavior for our people. So we are one of the earliest adopters of the UN Global Compact. I'm speaking 20 years ago. And it was so, now that we had defined the what and aligned it on sustainability, wanted everybody who joined the company to be aligned on the how. And we used from the beginning the SDGs and so on to do so. And then we went deep into deploying that. So we put into place company plans every 3 years with multi-criteria axis of progression in the domain of E, S, and G. And this has been part of us for now almost 20 years. And that goes deep, that runs really deep because a part of the bonus of everybody in the company is fixed by it, from the lowest level of the company to the top. We report this, we audit this as financial for now a long time. So it has really, normally we overshoot those objectives, I would say even more surely than our financials, because people are super motivated. That speaks to them, right? That speaks to the reason, but that speaks to the heart of our people. So I would say this is the way we deployed it. You said before, and I want to correct you, that the triptych of the growth of Schneider was sustainability, digital, and behind the sustainability I put electrification, digital, and M&A. I don't think M&A was part of the triptych. M&A is a mean to an end,
right?
And we've done it. But the real leg, third leg of the triptych was new economies. because you remember the Schneider of that time, which was 1/3 smaller. We are actually very, very small respect to our competitors on respect to the environment. And we said at that time, the only way for us to get to a critical size is to go to a place which is less comfortable, but which will be the center of gravity of urbanization, industrialization, digitization, and of course it means go fast to emerging countries. Today, and at that time, emerging countries were 10 to 15% of our turnover. Today, it's more 40 to 45% of our turnover. And that has changed completely the culture of our company because we've learned a new pace, a new speed, a new capacity of adaptation to very different terrains on grounds, really a different way of thinking.
Now, shifting to the digital side, one of the elements that I found, again, researching this for this conversation is an element called EcoStruxure, which was a system that you guys developed to give transparency to your customers on their I guess, electricity usage and management. And one of the key dimensions, at least as it was explained in the articles that I read, was that it was an open system approach as opposed to what some of your competitors were doing. So please tell us how you thought of this and how you implemented this.
So we launched EcoStruxure 12 years ago. EcoStruxure is our IoT platform. Take it as a plug and play, a ready to run architecture to connect everything which is critical for you. Your energy infrastructure, of course, but also your manufacturing, your key processes. You were speaking about data centers. So EcoStruxure has various declinations. It connects your manufacturing, its EcoStruxure plant and machine. It connects your building, EcoStruxure building. It connects your data center. It's called EcoStruxure IT and so on. And once you have all of those EcoStruxures connected, you have digitized your company into one data hub. Since we launched EcoStruxure, we've gone to another level of, I would say, proposal to our customers. Once we had helped our customers to digitize and optimize their building, factories, and so on, their enterprises, well, you have a lot of data. And we created a unique data hub which is optimized for industrial application, putting together operation data, asset data, energy data, carbon data, so that they can work on the data based on their own development of software or the system integrators, their IT houses or whoever. And of course, we have developed our own portfolio of software. Think about the implications. We can optimize energy supply or energy consumption on a global and holistic base. Think that we can train our operators before they go onto the floor, into the shop floor, which is always a dangerous environment, and train them fully in 3D and in digital before they go there. During COVID, when it was impossible to travel, we could help operators on the shop floor to intervene on the machines because we had all the data available. So those are all the things that this new digital world opens to the world of buildings, manufacturing, and cities.
Now, a key thing, Jean-Pascal, is that this means that along the way, Schneider Electric stopped being, a kind of a hardware and product company and also became very much a software company. And of course, one that integrates software and hardware. But the reality is there are many industries for whom software has become very central over the last few years. But there are also many companies that found it very difficult to become good at this software thing and at integrating the two. What were some of the reasons that you guys were successful at this? That you not only managed to develop a strength in software, but also managed to create this now integrated capability?
It's a good question and it's a journey and we learn every day. But let's start by one thing. We love software, but we love things. We love products, right?
Okay.
And the Internet of Things starts with the best things in the world. People don't come to us and say, I want the best internet. They still want the best electrical system or the best industrial automation system. So, and I believe that as the future goes into that mix of the digital world and the physical world, it's going to be very important for companies to be able to be great on both fronts. And even if you think about what's happening in the world of telecommunication or IT and everything, the most brilliant companies have been able to deliver great hardware coupled with great applications and services. And this is where we get really addicted to those systems because they are really more efficient to all of us. So what we have done is to make sure that, let me be, as we are developing in software, we made sure that those companies in software would operate autonomously. Very strong links with the rest of the company, but they would keep their culture. They would keep also, and I said it before, as soon as you enter that digital space, we want that digital space to work with Schneider hardware or control systems or with anybody else. This space is neutral. This space, I think you are speaking to me from Switzerland. This space is a Switzerland of software. It goes with everything on a neutral base. And with that, it's important to have our people in companies which are dedicated to that. Aviva, ETAP, those are neutral companies. And then we build the bridges in between. What is really important, I think, also in that journey is our culture. When we developed in digital, we couldn't do everything by ourselves organically. We did a lot organically. I would say 50% if I look headcount, if I look investment, and so on, 50% organic, and 50% with acquisition.
Okay.
And from that point of view, the very specific culture of Schneider, which has been built accepting differences geographically by type of business, has been an incredible asset because people who are coming from software were not feeling rejected by the company, but they were feeling accepted with the differences. So we never tried to over-integrate, but build the bridges between the two worlds on bridges that would be beneficial to our customers.
Now, let me build on this point because this open culture, when I worked with Schneider Electric back then, was not as apparent as it is today. And I think that one of the reasons is that in 2011, you chose to not only move yourself, but also move the headquarters of the organization to Hong Kong. And you also decided to implement more of a hub system. I think you have 3 major hubs. And clearly, that was a very significant decision, right?
Look, there are several parts in this equation. The first point is looking at the world, and again, I'd spend a lot of time outside of my country of origin, while I come actually from a very local part of France, so I think I understand deeply what local is, and I love it, by the way. But to tell you, to be very personal, I took my first plane when I was 23, so look, I understand what local is. But at the same time, we were seeing that the world, I believe that the world will be global, but I'm sure of one thing is as more countries of the world are acceding to prosperity, the difference of our cultures are reappearing in a very strong manner. And that was written from day one, right? I was living in China in the 90s, and it was obvious that China has and will have a culture of its own. And the same in India, the same in Africa, and so on and so on. So it was important to define a model that would benefit from being global, but at the same time would put decisions where the difference is made, which is by region, right? I don't believe in big, I believe in fast. So what was really important is to have teams completely in sync, language, culture, people, with the ecosystem to go much faster. Then there is another belief, because I come from deep local, I would say, is that companies get accepted when they contribute. And when you do like Schneider, we have actually much more than 3 hubs. We have many more hubs. We have actually 4 main hubs on plenty of other locations, one of them in Switzerland, by the way. But we make sure that for those 4 main hubs, which are namely North America, Europe, India, and China, we are equipped with R&D, marketing, sales, manufacturing, on their ecosystem of suppliers and partners, so that they can go really fast and they can make decisions. Think about how this made the difference when COVID hit the world.
Right.
So having and innovating from that point of view of organization where the whole of my leadership team is spread out across the world in very different places gave us multiple advantages. I can appoint to the head of a company, big leadership position, anybody from anywhere in the world in a snap. I don't need to have that person moving and so on and so on. So that gives access to a much larger pool of talent.
Okay.
And it can create many more aspirations for the people of Schneider. Second advantage is that for every decision we make at Schneider, there will be people around the table, which actually is a video call, who come from very different parts of the world, see the world in a very different manner, are exposed to very different winds. It gives us a wealth of inspiration for every decision we make, and it fosters a much higher respect for each other. In a world, I would say the more the situations are complex, companies tend to centralize to gain more control, which is an illusion. Actually, the more systems are becoming complex, the more you have to decentralize, because people can manage in a much more agile way, an adapted way to those complex situations.
Now, this sounds extremely appealing, of course. It is also not easy to do, right? If it had been easy to do, more companies would operate on such a decentralized and decentralized sort of way. So what are some of the challenges that you faced implementing this new way of working, and how did you overcome these challenges? Including during COVID, right? We all realized we can operate through technology-mediated interactions, but we also realized that we were losing a lot of the regular chit-chat, which enables an organic alignment. So how have you, again, what are the challenges that you faced creating this multi-hub organization, and how did you overcome these challenges?
Well, first you mentioned it, and it started by one simple thing, is me moving, right? And it takes a family, I would say, sacrifice on for many people of my leadership team. I wanted this project. You have to show the example, right? And you take the flak off, because it's not a usual model, especially for blue chip companies as we were at that time, to do that kind of thing. But I would say even tech companies today tend to be very centralized from what I see today. So it took us to do it. I left 11 or 12 years ago now. And we, because why was that? Because at that time we were underdeveloped in Asia. We are not at the level where we wanted. And look, 10 years after, Asia is our largest region by a large amount. And no surprise, it's 60% of the world population, 50% of the GDP, but we have really strong operation in India, in China, in Southeast Asia. So from that point of view, you have to lead from the front and to show the example. Second point, on back to basics, it's all about people. At the end of the day, if you have the right people, you have the right company. We say at Schneider that great people make a great company. At the end of the day, our job is all about people. On finding the right people, on empowering those people. There is no point to select great people to micromanage them. So what you need is really great people. And then, after, I would say, is a strong set, and I spoke to that, of values, behaviors, understanding on what is expected, strong direction, which is easy at Schneider, we are a very focused company. Everybody works for the same thing. And we have defined what we expect of our people within the global compact frame of work. So it's larger than us. But making sure that during those times you build the face-to-face, informal time, pleasure time, fun time, celebration time that you couldn't have or you cannot have through videos. But at the end of the day, it's profoundly about choice of people on the way you interact together. Culture, values, sense of common direction reads back to the human dimension, which is the most important in company. Great people make a great company.
How involved are you in the recruitment of, I don't know, the top 100? Are you personally involved in a lot of recruitment discussions?
Yeah, I wouldn't recruit everybody myself, that's for sure. But we, as an executive committee, spend systematically the most of our time on those collective discussions about people. So if you are in charge of this business of Schneider and you want to appoint somebody report, we're going to discuss it as a group, because that group of people under you will be in an interaction with the rest of the company. And it's important that we share a view on the pluses, the minuses, the qualities and things on such and such individual.
Now, I want to shift to a more governance question. You've been chairman and CEO of the company for about 9 years. This combination of the chairman and CEO role is debated in governance circles. What has led you and the board to continue to maintain this approach as opposed to splitting up the two roles as a number of governance observers suggest?
So during my almost 20 years as CEO and chairman of the company, I've done half and half. Half dissociated and half associated.
Yeah.
And frankly, I didn't see much of a difference because when I was appointed chairman and CEO for one very simple reason, is that 10 years ago, our 3 major countries and 3 major places of our investors were more working in an associated manner. So people were understanding better that chairman and CEO was associated. But we were, at least in France, the first company to bring on a lead independent director,
Okay.
who actually had more prerogatives than a non-executive chairman, right? And today it's Fred Kindle, who you probably know. And then 5 committees headed by independent directors. So making sure that each decision of the board would be studied in committees where I don't necessarily participate. So frankly, the 2 formulas are really possible to put into place, provided that they are sorted with the right check and balances.
Right.
And they are sorted with the right committees that can study in independence the main files of the board. And just to confuse you even more, 2 years ago, we've committed with the board to redissociate again in the next coming 4 years. So we have been one way, another way, and we're going to move back to a dissociated way in the near future. But at the end of the day, there again, it's a question of system. It's not that one model is better than the other model. If you apply it with the right check and balances,
Right.
it actually can be as balanced in the associated mode as it is in the dissociated mode.
This is an important point that you're making, that it's not just a structure, it's also a set of processes, the committees, and the presence of a lead independent director. Now, I want to ask you a few more personal questions because, as you know, I'm a professor of leadership by trade, so I have to ask a few personal questions. So, in a recent interview with the Financial Times, you said, I don't consider myself at all a political figure. You said, look, there's no point in participating in the big noise, work on the fundamentals and keep working on the fundamentals. There's also another way of looking at it, which is that the world needs to hear from progressive and successful CEOs such as yourself, including to help governments to get better acceptance from their citizens for measures that are more environmentally friendly. So is there an argument for people like you to speak out more to accelerate the world's understanding of the importance and the urgency of the change?
Look, I would like the world to speak less and to be less controversial for the sake of controversy. And I would like the world to do more.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why I've chosen to be in the industrial part of the equation that I like to do. I like to innovate, I like to create, I like to provide solutions. So, number one, we engage everywhere where the politics, the community wants to engage with us. I participate to multiple groups of think tanks with governments around the world. Everywhere, if they ask, we participate, we contribute, we try to help building something which is pragmatic and connected to what we see from our industrial, from our company point of view. I would say also that we've been one of the early founders of the Global Compact. I've been the president of the Global Compact in France for 6 years, for 2 mandates. I'm part of the board of the Global Compact. Right. This is another sort of engagement that we have. But where I feel the proudest of is when we bring electricity to people who didn't have access to electricity, green electricity, 50 million of them. When to do that, we train 1 million of young people who had no training before, no qualification, and then become the energy provider of their communities and village. This is when we make the difference. When there is a catastrophe, it can be a flood, a tornado, and things, and we are the first one to reestablish energy and electricity. We don't speak, we do, and this is a place where I feel really the proudest.
Very fair. Now, Jean-Pascal, your career has been extraordinary. You mentioned earlier you became CEO at a very young age. Can you try to leave modesty aside for just 2-3 minutes and try to parcel out, when you think of your own journey, what is due to luck, because clearly all of us need some luck, what is due to a few Schneider Electric senior executives that I think had a particular eye for and interest in developing talent, and then maybe a few qualities that you have and or developed? Can you try to parcel out the weight of these in your rise?
I think the most important feature is luck at the end, right? At the beginning and at the end. So you can dress it up, you can do, but luck is really important in life. Second thing, in my case, it's been really to choose unconventional jobs. Okay. For the first 15 years of my career. And that definition for me of unconventional was jobs that nobody wanted to have. And they were normally creation, developments, outside of the mainstream, the fringe of the empire, the things that are very risky, very uncertain. And it gives you a curiosity and an exposure which is very different. It goes with risk-taking, of course, but I was more interested by what I was doing than the title that was proposed to me. And that is still a way I assess people. Do they want to be to do something, or do they want to be somebody? And I think it's really more important to do something for anybody in the world, and that's the main criteria. The third point I would say people, attention to people, respect to people, bringing the people along, understanding that it's not easy every day for anybody, so you have sometimes to accelerate, sometimes you have to pause with people, you have to help, and if you choose the best people, you are attentive to people, then you have a chance really, because at the end of the day, you never succeed alone. Actually, you never succeed alone. You succeed because the people working with you are succeeding. If you want to know about somebody, look at the team. That speaks a lot more than this person who can be brilliant, speak beautifully, and do these slides and those kind of things. What is really important is which kind of people do they bring along, and how do they work together. And then finally, I've been a long time with my company. I think I know really well the business, and I believe that whatever you say, whatever people say, competency is still really important.
Yeah.
But I've always learned a lot from other people, and especially the elder generations, everywhere I've been, everywhere I've worked. So as much as you develop young people, you also get a lot of knowledge or draw a lot of knowledge from people who've developed the company in previous times. And from that learning, there is always acceleration that you can deduct. If you can save all the mistakes that they've done, and if you can accumulate all the learning that they've accumulated, plus really understand what are the unique features, the unique strong features of the culture of the company that you can build on, then you build a continuum in the history, the culture of the company, which is really useful because it makes acceleration so much easier when you have strong foundations. So at the end of the day, I've always considered that I wanted to transform the company profoundly, and I think we've done that. But at the same time, we've done it, making sure that each step wouldn't put at risk the fantastic legacy that we had from the past.
In a recent Financial Times article, you were asked, what would you do if you were not CEO? And usually people respond, I'd be doing this or that. And you responded, I'd be CEO of a smaller organization or of an NGO. That's a very rare response. I mean, I checked these articles. Were you meant to be a CEO? What do you love as much about this job?
What I mean is that I like to create, I like to innovate, I like to be with a team, I like to work with people, I like to challenge, and that describes pretty much being a CEO, even of a very small company. I come from a farm. A farm is every day a CEO ship, right? I need that kind of discomfort to keep moving on that sort of energy, and I need the team. I need the customers, I need the suppliers, I probably need a lot of problems to confront, which I'm well served at the moment with the period we are in.
Last question. What are some of the tools, techniques, principles, practices that help you continue to be so energized after 16 years on the job and continue to allow you to be at your best 99% of the time?
I think what's important is always to have your mindset on the next two steps, right? Because that gives you an horizon that keeps you really excited, busy, and give you a sense of, I think you have to be very stubborn strategically and very agile tactically, but you need
Say that again. Stubborn strategically,
yeah,
and agile tactically.
Tactically, yeah. Because the world is always different, but things will be very, very different. But at the end of the day, if you have that goalpost, which is pulling you some years ahead, then you have somewhere so many, I have passion for what we can do, right? And always that passion for what we can do. And then you need other things. Frankly, since I became CEO or COO, and even when I jumped on the ExCom of Schneider, well, I've been pretty much working. Let's face it, there is some sacrifice that goes with it. But having family, having a right circle of friends, having some passions outside, sports, outdoor sports in my case, traveling, I'm very masochistic. When I'm finished with my professional travels, and I'm a heavy traveler, I go traveling into very weird places with my family and friends. So, because I like to discover other parts of the world. And while I have that keeps me finding a balance, and you were asking me to be more personal, between that hectic professional life and on some other parts where I can really explore some other elements.
Jean-Pascal, thank you very much. Congratulations to all these successes over the last 16 years, and best wishes, of course, to you personally, but also to your organization, because when we think of the problem that the world faces, your organization is one of the organizations that is very much helping us to find solutions. So thank you, and all the best to you.
Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup. Until next time.